dónde vamos?
A un entierro.
Al azar, para llevarme a pasear a una joven de Tangiar.
Cualquiera.
Si a tu casa llegan voces a preguntar que si te amo, a preguntar que si te amo, si a tu casa llegan voces.
En ese momento lo que entendí es que ser negra era algo malo. Como si algo estuviera mal conmigo, digamos. Pero sí podemos controlar cómo reaccionamos y lo que hacemos con ello.
All right, welcome back, everybody. What you have just seen there are clips from some Mexican films, because right now we're going to be speaking about the Mexican Day of Cinema. And this is a partnership between the Embassy of Mexico, also with Film TT and Export TT. And joining me this morning from those organizations, first is the Chargé d'Affaires, Mr. Rodrigo Vasquez. We also have Leslie Ann Wills-Caton, who's the General Manager of Film TT, and we have Mr. Danraj Hariprasad, who is the Acting General Manager of Export TT. Good morning to my guests and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh yes, thank you for joining us this morning. Now I want to start with you, Mr. Vasquez. What is the importance of the cultural partnership between Mexico and Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, first of all, let me just start by thanking you again for having us online for this interview. It's a great opportunity to greet and join my colleagues for this important occasion. Regarding your question, let me emphasize that the work that the embassy undertakes in Trinidad and Tobago is, of course, divided into different ambits, different aspects, right? But culture, we have realized that cultural relations, cultural cooperation is a way forward to open many doors for different kinds of cooperation in other kinds of ambits, right, of sectors. So I think basically, as we have joined with Export TT and Film TT, we have realized that culture is a great way to communicate our interests, our values, our sentiments, the way our people live, feel, of course, and how we interrelate with other cultures, right? And in this case, with Trinidad and Tobago. For the cultural part of the work that the embassy undertakes, I think there are three main cultural things that we want to highlight in Trinidad. Of course, one of them is the Mexican culture, right? What is it about? How we celebrate? What are our traditions, right? Second, I want to say it will be how do we relate to Trinidad and Tobago's culture as well? How are we connected as two different countries, but at the same time with many similarities, and that have many ways that we express ourselves in similar terms. And thirdly, and that's something that I will leave behind, but it's also to promote the use and the use and the learning of the Spanish language, because of course that will help us bring and build bridges to be more working more together. So sure. I think that's basically how important our cultural partnership has been built through these years.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vasquez. Leslie Ann, what do you think is the significance from Film TT's perspective of what do you think is the importance and the significance of the National Day of Mexican Cinema rather, in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, the National Day of Mexican Cinema is a day that in Mexico we celebrate through our Institute of Cinema, which is INCINE, and it's a day that we highlight the production, right? The richness of our cinema production, and of course, the cultural sentiments around that year that are expressed through cinema. Right?
Of course. And I want to hear from Leslie Ann when it comes to, yeah, it's okay. I just wanted to hear from Leslie Ann when it comes to film, TT's role and the significance it means to Trinidad and Tobago.
Right, perfect morning. So the significance is that we're showing a collaboration. So for instance, Trinidad and Tobago is a part of the Latin American and Caribbean Film Commissions Network. And of course, Mexico is a part of that network as well. Right. And this is a foundation. We're building the bridge. And so with collaborating, we're able to show the similarities between the Mexican culture and of course Trinidad and Tobago culture. We know Mexico has been doing really well in terms of creating film and content, getting Netflix on board in Mexico, and that's us building that relationship. The next step we're looking at doing is a filmmakers exchange, of course, with the Mexican embassy, with our filmmakers and producers, with the Mexican filmmakers and producers, and this is us really just celebrating and getting our filmmakers away to see the kind of content that we're working on and the similarities that exist. So that's the main key. And of course, building the relationship with Export TT and showing trade and culture all together in one.
Well, that actually leads me to my next question for Dan Raj. What is Export TT's role in all of this?
Well, Export TT is involved in anything that has anything to do with export. For those of you who are not aware of Export TT and the things that we do, I mean, we basically do two types of activities for our exporters. One is capacity building to build their competitiveness for those international markets, and then promotion. So I think initiatives like this is more on the promotion side, because what it allows us to do is allows us to do some product placement, which Leslie has been preaching to us a lot about, and we have actually been seeing a lot of it. So in these films, you would see certain products. I'm not sure if you would be aware of this a series on Netflix called Kim's Convenience. We have our Casey Candy that is showcased there. If you've seen Grand Tour, you'd see Jeremy Clarkson holding up a green bottle, which is a stag. And because of these placements, someone might ask the question, what is that guy holding? What is that beer? I want to try it too. So that's one side of it. I think it really sheds some light to our products. And, places some questions in people's mind about, what that could possibly be. The other thing I would say is that exports is a pretty competitive activity to get into, and you really need to differentiate yourself. I think the way that Trinidad and Tobago can do that is really through its creativity, and there's no better way to express that creativity than through film.
Surely, and you said something that's really huge, and I don't know if people really grasp it, but having that type of product placement of local products and local items in big feature productions that are on Netflix and even on the world stage, that means a lot. And it can really benefit brands here, things that are locally made, and individuals that are in business here in Trinidad and Tobago and exporting not only the culture but also the products abroad. I want to go back to Mr. Vasquez. What do these three films that we saw earlier in the clips, what do they have in common, and why do you think the screenings were selected for this important occasion here in Trinidad?
Well, the selection, let me say that the selection of the films was in part responsibility of Film TT. They had a list of films that we were interested in highlighting in Trinidad and Tobago, and we were joining together in selecting the films that were more appropriate for the occasion. I think there are two features of the films that I would like to say that are the most important ones, and that in a way have that in common. One is diversity, right? So the films are quite different to the scope and to what they want to highlight, showcase, but of course that gives a sense of how diverse the Mexican culture is. And sometimes we when we see other cultures, when we analyze them, when we read about them, we tend to have this idea of putting them into a one kind of case, right? And have a stereotype of the culture, which is good, of course, because it highlights the main features of the culture. But of course, it leaves behind how diverse cultures and societies are. So I think that's one thing that in common they have. They are different, and they highlight and showcase diversity in Mexican culture, which is really important. And the second thing will be richness. So the cultural aspect of Mexico is really rich. Our culture is big, diverse, rich, and I think that in a way also has Trinidad, in the same. You are a multicultural society. I think that relates Trinidad and Tobago and Mexico very well. So I think this selection done by Leslie Ann and the team of Film TT was perfect. There are different films. Probably you will have one favorite, but of course, all of them have that in common.
Surely. And Leslie Ann, when is it? When is the day going to be celebrated and these things are going to be shown?
Great. So it's this Sunday, the 15th. We have a screening at 2 p.m. with a rerun at 10 p.m. and of course another rerun on the 19th at 7:30 p.m. And of course, once you check our social media pages, we have hampers and giveaways from Caribbean flavors. We have a lot of hampers and giveaways. So definitely check out Export TT and Film TT's social media page, and you will be surprised what we have in store. So definitely look out for it.
All right, go to social media, Export TT and Film TT's pages, and you can get more information. It is this Sunday, the 15th. I want to thank all my guests. Firstly, Rodrigo Vasquez, who is the Chargé d'Affaires, the Embassy of Mexico in Trinidad and Tobago, Leslie Ann Wills-Caton, who is the General Manager of Film TT, and Mr. Danraj Hariprasad, who is the Acting General Manager at Export TT. Have a great morning, continue to be safe, and all the best for the celebration. All right, we are now going to take a very short break, and we're going to come back. We still have a lot more here on the Now Morning program. It is Hump Day, it's Wednesday, so Anka will be in later on as well, so we can look forward to that. But for now, we're going to take a break.
¿Dónde vamos?